Wonderful. So, welcome to our next episode of CX Voices. I am Katie Kemshell, hosting in collaboration with CXM. And today we have the brilliant Greg from the Royal College of Arts joining us to talk a little bit about his role and some of the cool stuff happening in the college. Welcome, Greg.
Pleasure to be here, Katie. Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about your role to start with, Greg, and what you do within the college.
Well, my official title is IT Service Desk Manager. Obviously, anybody in higher education knows that you have multiple hats, which we're not ashamed to admit. My role is really first line and second line support for technology with all of our customers, staff, student, applicants and alumni of the Royal College of Art. So we provide a completely holistic service model, whether it be hardware, software, application support, networking, device, you name it. And we're really providing a good, an exceptional level of customer service and making sure that they can just get on with what they need to, and technology is not a hindrance to them, I'd say.
Yeah, brilliant. So just give me an example, Greg. Obviously, the Royal College of Arts, your customers may not be the typical customer that a lot of our subscribers would be interacting with. So just describe what some of your customers look like and some of their kind of requirements from you.
They can change on a daily basis, really. So the typical customer at the RCA is really defined into four key areas. And those are mirrored by the schools that we have. So you have the School of Architecture, the School of Arts and Humanities, the School of Communication, and the School of Design. Now, those are split across three campuses, and like our customers are, Kensington, which is next to the Royal Albert Hall. We have Battersea, which is just over the Battersea Bridge from Chelsea, and where I am today, at the time of recording, in White City. And the customers, you can't really define a customer within the RCA. I think they all want to be the best of the best and to graduate from the RCA to go towards an excellent career, an exciting career within their chosen discipline. And it could be visual communication, it could be games design, it could be painting, it could be service design, or it could be research orientated. So we do have quite a good mix of national and international students as well, which really brings alive the culture that there is no one set definitive definition, ironically, of a customer type.
And what would you say for yourself in your role? I know you're very passionate about technology and innovation. What would you say is your responsibility towards those students? Where do you see your role in all of that?
I see my role as designing, executing and supporting the service model that we have, acting in the best interests of the students and the staff that we serve. So, for example, across multiple work groups that I'm a part of, whether it be individual school forums, so school get-togethers between staff and students, it could be the working group for student orientation and admission planning, it could be post-convocation support. It's really looking at that life cycle of a student and how we can apply that and really support them from a technology and IT perspective. It could be introducing new technologies or emerging technologies or innovation. It could be, supporting the typical bricks and mortar of what we do. It could be anything, but it's really to champion service excellence and, like I said, to make sure they're back up and running in the smoothest possible and quickest possible time we can.
I love the way you refer to it as the kind of the student journey and the lifetime of that student journey, because I guess when it comes to customer experience, you can't really pinpoint, by the sounds of things, one part of that student journey that you're there to have an effect on, because actually, by the sounds of things, it's across the board from the moment they come to the moment they go. You have that pivotal part of their experience of that kind of degree that they're coming for.
Absolutely. So we are on hand from the point that they register their interest or want some prospective information about the RCA to when, 10, 15, 20 years after they've graduated, ironically. And we still get requests from alumni in the past, let's say 1995. I can't access my email account. We are there to provide that level of service regardless of the type of customer. But you can identify where a student is at in their student life cycle. You have the domains, you have the language that they use, but ultimately we are looking at that entire life cycle.
Yeah, I love that. And I know we've spoken quite a lot about some of the projects that you've been working on over the last year, yes. And obviously your own kind of education journey and writing your dissertation and yes. Lots of really exciting stuff. So I'd love to bring out some of the gold there around kind of let's maybe highlight one project that you've been working on to explore technology and how you can help to change the experience of those students and kind of what you've learned from that.
Yeah, so if I think back to when I joined in late 2022 to now in early 2026, there's been a dynamic shift of an innovative mindset. That leads on to a project that I ran within the team, all about how we can begin to modernise the support offering for our customers. Now, the demographics of the customers are changing. You really are now seeing the in COVID and post-COVID era of students and customers joining us, whether that be staff, student, external collaborators, partners, you name it. We imagined what it would be like to increase, in layman's terms, increase the self-service capability that we give to our customers by use of a virtual chatbot. Now, something very, simple and particular, simple and low cost, such as a chatbot, you would think that it may well be an easy sell, an easy implementation, but culturally, when you are serving this many types of customers, I think the scope was initially a bit too narrow. For example, the ultimate proof of concept, whilst it never made it into the live environment, the live service environment, it taught us a lot. It taught us to broaden our horizons and not be so narrow-minded, the typical horse with the blinkers on. But it also taught us how we begin to incorporate from a pedagogical mindset and point of view from the academics, but also different disciplines within professional services such as people and culture, finance, campus operations, estates, how we start to think of the out-of-the-box solution and outside of that box solution as well, in terms of we're not just supporting the technical support journey or aspect of a customer. We are now catering to multiple different disciplines through one technology, and I think that narrative was slightly lost, for example, and not afraid to say it, but it's taught us a lot of things. It's taught us that it's reinforced the fact that failure is okay. It's reinforced the fact that we are able to innovate, we are able to try things, and if they don't succeed, we try again. So it was with an existing and long-standing partner of ours and software provider, and it was a good experience ultimately, and it ironically is what I wrote my dissertation on in the end as well. So multiple stones effect, should I say.
I think it's really interesting at the moment as people are starting to explore the benefits that various AI technologies can bring into organisations, it's interesting to hear about the culture of how that organisation views it. So it's interesting that you clearly have got the freedom to explore and experiment with new technologies to see how they run. And I love the fact that you're kind of referring to this particular project of bringing in this AI bot as, for now, it didn't work, and you were able to explore that within the culture of the organisation, but yet you seem to still have a mindset of at the moment for us. And, you know, when we've spoken before, it's still something that you're open in the future to revisiting and looking at and exploring again and trying again, which is really part of the process of AI, I would say.
Definitely. We are in this revolution that everyone's talking about. And Katie, you know me, I don't like jargon, I don't like corporate language, but we are in this revolutionary cycle now. I think when it comes to it's not right for us now, you're absolutely right, in the sense of we know why it wasn't right, but because of the research orientated work that we have internally, we're almost built to pick all of those themes apart, to really bring out the detail to help us shape future proof of concepts. The technology, it's fair to say, will be there. You know, I'm fairly confident, and at the time of recording we've got a couple of ongoing projects to see other examples, see other technologies and how they approach the problem, approach the use cases and the user stories. But we will always pick out elements from those projects and we will say, how can that apply to different projects? It may not necessarily be in that certain line or product line, because it can affect other technologies, especially when the word or the umbrella of AI is very broad these days and everyone's still experimenting. So yes, it is fair to say that we will always take it and see how we can apply it to different technologies, different areas of the institution. But as long as we always have we have a grounded approach, in the sense of we have a human and AI hybrid, and we're very particular in that. Human and AI hybrid. Humans at the forefront, supported by AI, whether that's agentic, whether that's conversational, whether that's large language models and data analysis or research analysis. It bolsters the human creative mind. It bolsters and becomes a third arm of a student, of a staff member. So as long as we keep the grounding, and as long as we always say, let's try it, let's see, I don't think we can step a foot wrong.
Yeah. So if you were going to explain to us, Greg, for any of the colleges or universities that are exploring the likes of chatbots into their own educational environments, talk us through just a summary of what made you start to explore the project, and what were your biggest learnings from it that you kind of took away.
So I'll start with what made us venture into it. I would say it's 50-50 internal and external. Externally, as a lot of our compatriots within higher education know, further education, times are tough, whether it be financially restricting, whether it be competition, an expansion of programs for different universities. There needs to have the balance and to remain competitive. Okay. There are also other external factors, geopolitically, economically, socially, that is not just touching higher education or not just touching public sector. As a matter of fact, change of governments in the past couple of years, it has a big knock-on effect to policies, to trade, to students, to visas. And I'm not going to sit here for 1 second and say I'm an expert in visa and immigration, far from it. But we see all of those changes seeping down. Externally as well, we are also starting to do a lot of trend analysis and benchmarking. So going through a big review, not only of the services but the portfolio and the products, we're always keeping an eye on industry best practice, whether that is in service management or customer management, whether that is in cyber or information security, identity and access for controlling, architecture in a technology mindset. But also what the customers are actually doing. That's a big thing. A lot of people can do a lot of market research on the latest products, etc. But if you don't know what your customer's doing and how they're interacting with your services, it's almost mute. It's almost pointless. So that is a quick summary of the external. Internally, we have gone through, over the past couple of years, like I said, over real big digital transformation and maturity process. We're still not there. It is a multi-year, could be even a decade long, because things are constantly changing. But from the implementation, a rather seamless implementation of a brand new network infrastructure, switching providers and technologies with minimal downtime, to changing the way our SaaS applications work and how they are delivered, and the continuity and the business continuity behind that, and the redundancy of applications. All of that is a foundation. You can have the wireless access points in place. You can have, or the Wi-Fi extenders for non-technical people. You can have fancy phones, smart screens, curved screens for your desktops, the latest laptops. But if you don't have the forethought behind that technology to take that a step further, then you're going to become stagnant. So what we've done is especially over the past 18 months, we've started to build a culture within technology of innovation and how emerging technologies or emerging enhancements, because we can't forget the enhancements, how they can improve the overall service that we provide, how can they improve the overall student experience. We talk about that life cycle from start to finish, and how we can really reinforce the fact that IT, we are not just techies, we're not just people who sit in a locked away cupboard, plugging in, plugging out, patch cables on a switch. The whole mindset of technology is and has shifted to people first. A lot of companies, a lot of organisations haven't, fully switched over to that mindset, but I feel we are well on our way. So that's a very, extensive answer of why. What we learned from that project, we learnt that, I said this earlier, don't be so narrow-minded. Think about how a single technology product would benefit, impact, and differ experiences for different parts of the organisation or the institution. For example, you can ultimately advertise and advocate for a virtual assistant, an AI chatbot that is purely IT focused, purely technology support focused. But some people will still try to say, I'm having a problem with my student application. I'm having problem with the toilets down the corridor. I'm having problems with, I don't have enough whiteboard pens and markers. You will never be able to deflect all of those non-technology related queries and contain them within one technology.
Yeah.
So we've definitely learnt that we have to be we have to be a lot broader, a lot more holistic in not only how we think but how we design solutions. Integrations are a big challenge of that. I'm sure that we are not, we're like a lot of other institutions, universities or colleges, that have a very complex technology landscape. One system for this, one system for that. A lot of consolidation is happening, but to bring that product value, to bring the customer value, you have to be quite agile with your integrations. You have to be quite mindful that people will want to try and get data from a particular application that you may not have even heard about before, that they use for their own personal research. Like, who knows? So you have to don't be so narrow-minded. I'd say is definitely one approach.
It almost sounds like the way you describe it, you know, in a role of technology, as you say, you can't just be that person that is dealing with something physical, like a technology solution that is going to hopefully change something. It sounds like you also almost need to be a psychologist as to what's happening in the people's minds, because if the two don't come together, by the sounds of things, you've got the technology, but if the mindset and the psychology and the understanding of the culture and the people who are using that technology don't come together, then maybe there's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, there is a disconnect between knowing what the customer wants and delivering what the customer wants, and delivering what you think is the right solution. You're right, Katie. It's you almost have to think, but take that step further and actually get the feedback on what they want. You know, what do they actually want the product to do? You know, as long as you hear people, as long as you hear their requests and their feedback, okay, you may not be able to implement everything. You know, you can't fix everything overnight. You can't magic a solution out of thin air. But what you can do is you can extend your involvement of project stakeholders and, you know, individuals aligned with a product, for example, without actually ruining the purpose of it. Having those open forums, having a wide pool of beta testing, having a different accessibility options for the product. You know, all of those are key, and it's why you have. It's arguably why you have a project team as well behind it. You have all of those different minds that you think this person could bring out a fantastic idea, another person completely unrelated could bring out another completely unrelated idea as well. So you have to be a mind reader, but also follow that up with action. Yeah.
I think what I love about the Royal College of Arts that really comes across from from speaking to yourself is that customer experience and the way that new technologies and innovation are being introduced into the college. Clearly, they're very open to experimentation and innovation, and at the same time considering that there has to be a trial and test period. And I love how they've allowed you to have the freedom to trial and test and go, that's not quite right, let's go again, let's trial and test. And I think that it's almost a culture that, if isn't adopted within universities, it's going to take a lot of time for anybody to really feel like they have the freedom to succeed. So it's nice that you're kind of paving the way there almost.
I would agree. I think, look, the size of the institution does help us. You know, with approximately 2,600 around circa students, and the staff numbers to match, we are not the size of some of our neighbours and counterparts. You know, some of the UK's most forethought universities and institutions, not saying that we are not, but if you ask an international student what would you say the top or the most notable university is, they're obviously going to say Oxford or Cambridge as an example. But that size does increase the agility. We do have to have the guardrails around that innovation. You know, so you do have to have the control, such as ethically, is it sustainable? Is it viable? Cybersecurity, information security, has it passed a series of checklists and approvals, that, you know, where is the data being stored and how is the data being managed. You do have to tick all of the boxes, but the innovative mindset is a lot more free, it's a lot more agile here, which, hey, if we've been ranked the number one art research and design school in the world, postgraduate, for 11 years or so. You know, we are entirely postgraduate, but if we can begin to be a voice, like you said, that actually in this current climate, failure is okay. You know, as long as we learn, as long as we improve and adapt, and that failure is meaningful, then you've done it. Sure, there's a financial cost to everything, but you weigh up that financial cost before you go into the proof of concept anyway. So you do that benchmarking against different competitors, different solution providers for different use cases. So you have a thorough analysis, but do the proof of concept, do that trial, because it could be, as a really good example, about 2 years ago, so in 2024, we introduced a new software only for the technology team, for the point of knowledge management, creating articles, creating guides, etc. We've been using it for a couple of years. We introduced it to another team, and they were like, "Oh my goodness, that's the best thing since sliced bread. That's the best tool I've ever used since I've been here." So something as tiny and routine for us can really be life-saving. So have that mindset as well of experiment that use case within other teams as well.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you for your time. If there's one piece of advice that you would give to other people in your role who have an ability and almost a responsibility to improve the student journey, based on everything that you've been through on your process within this wonderful kind of innovative environment that you're in, what would it be?
I would say it's all about the student experience, and I take that in two stances. Number one, embed yourself in the student experience with your students, right? With your customers. Go to the forums, go to the work groups, actually hear from them. You know, don't shy yourself away. But on the same string, be a student yourself. Go through that process, experience the pains that your university that you go to, and learn from theirs as well, and do a compare and contrast, and you also get a qualification at the end of it as well. So just embed yourself in the student experience.
Yeah, I love that. So we'll summarise with listen, innovate, and don't be afraid to fail. I think are the biggest things. Wonderful. Thank you, Greg. It's always a pleasure to chat, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
See you soon.